Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Pulsar Patching Team business training today. I want to start out by saying I am the furthest thing from an accountant. So here at the bottom of our image or document that's been created, I really want to start out with the reminder that tax laws and regulations can change. They're different state to state. So it's essential that you are informed and consulted by your accountant. Okay, I'm not trying to give you accounting advice here. I'm just trying to plant some seeds so that maybe it will help you better to know what questions to ask your accountant so that you're taking advantage of all the different tax breaks that you potentially can get in your state. So with that being said, to always go to a professional and get your advice, here are the ideas of things I would love for you to just think about and consider. And I'll tell you, when I started with LifeWave, some of these things I didn't think about, and it would have saved me some money. So here we go. Number one, which business expenses are deductible? So there are many things, if you're actively doing the business, that can be considered expenses and write-offs. For example, marketing expenses, some travel, like for example, if you're going to go to a LifeWave convention, that trip would be a write-off. Your phone expenses, supplies for your office. Here is a key thing I didn't know about for a long time is products. So think about this. If you're actively doing the business, you're making commissions. To stay active in our business, you have to have at least 55 personal volume points a month. And if you're trying to stay a manager or higher in rank, you have to have 110 PV each month. So that's a requirement to do the business in a serious way. And you can actually write off those products for that amount of money it would take to meet those minimum PV points per month. So wish I'd known that from the get-go. But yeah, that's just one thing. You will want to ask your accountant about this to make sure he's comfortable or she's comfortable with it. But how can I maximize deductions for startup costs? So if you are going to form an LLC, there are legal fees sometimes involved in that, annual report filing fees, different sorts of permits. So that's a consideration. If you're doing this under your Social Security number, probably not going to have to deal with any of that. Keep that in mind. The third point is, what records should I keep for tax purposes? So always keep all your receipts, of course. Understand the importance of maintaining accurate records for all your business transactions. I have a separate credit card that is just a business credit card. That makes things so much easier for me to have that extra credit card. And then when I do buy supplies for my office or anything I'm doing, like traveling to convention, all of that's just put on one card, and it just keeps things so much easier to keep track of. Okay, is home office deduction applicable? So I have a home office, most of us do. My accountant does not want me to pay rent for the space. He says that's just for him. That's too much, because when you sell your house, there's something that has to happen. He's like, I wouldn't do that. That's his advice to me. It may be that your accountant says, hey, that's something you should take advantage of. But that's a question to ask. Is the home office deduction applicable for you? Can you deduct vehicle expenses? Well, with LifeWave, it kind of depends what you're doing. If one of your main marketing strategies is to go out and do booths every week, and you're highly involved in that way, perhaps If your mileage to get to the airport, to go to convention, your mileage to go do an event once in a great while, probably for sure it is, but again, ask your accountant. How should I handle depreciation? So you'll have equipment like your computer, maybe you have a printer, things of that nature. Your accountant will be able to tell you how you'll deal with depreciation of all of that equipment, and that will be beneficial to you in terms of taxes. Are professional fees deductible? Well, it depends, what they're for. But yes, if you would need a consultant or accountant, so yes, the fees I pay to my accountant, yes, those are deductible. Again, ask your accountant, but these are just things to consider. Another thing that I write off are my fees for QuickBooks. So I use QuickBooks to keep track of all my business stuff. And so those professional fees that's considered a professional fee and is a write-off for me. What about business entertainment expenses? Yeah, this one I feel like you have to be pretty careful. Don't take too much advantage of it. But yeah, if you have, say, a new brand partner and you want to meet for a lunch and you want to treat that person to lunch, your accountant may say that's okay, that sort of thing. But be aware of any limitations or restrictions. Can I deduct health insurance premiums? Well, really good question. Probably depends how, serious this is. Is this a full-time job for you? But again, ask your accountant. I do not do that. But I probably at this point, yeah, I need to actually ask my accountant some of these questions as well, because that when I was like, I should probably be thinking about this. What tax credits are available for small businesses? So explore potential tax credits that your business may be eligible for. Um, Most of us don't need to hire employees or invest in energy efficient equipment, but just a thought, okay? And then the last one, how can I optimize tax planning for the future? So discuss long-term tax planning strategies to maximize tax liability. So an example of this is once you make over $50,000 a year from LifeWave, you may want to consider becoming an S Corp if you're already an LLC. People that are LLCs usually do that, prior to making that much money. Being an S Corp is a lot of trouble, in my opinion, because you have to file taxes quarterly. And I had an S Corp in Illinois, but when I moved to Florida, I decided just to do an LLC because I just did not want to deal with all the taxes and payroll stuff. And I'm so glad I did. So that's just, something you could talk to your accountant about. Again, I'm not trying to represent being any sort of accountant professional. I think we have a retired accounting professional on the call today. Um, Alyssa Shore was a CPA. I guess she still is a CPA, but is retired. And so, Alyssa, I don't know if you want to unmute and share any thought about maybe any other questions that you think would be noteworthy when our brand partners go out and do their taxes every year and submit their 1099 from LifeWave to their accountant. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I did for the past, I mean, I've prepared thousands of individual returns, but that was a long time ago. And, one of the things is the rules are constantly changing. And I think it was in 2019 with regard to entertainment expenses, the limitations became greater. But one thing I would suggest um, is really to just always keep track of your expenses and keep them separate. And in addition to having a separate credit card, I would have a separate bank account
Oh,
for the business.
yeah.
Because in the event that there's an audit, although they would probably ask for, all bank statements and everything, it's best if you have everything within, just one bank account, one credit card related to the business. It just makes it easier in the long run. But other than that, yeah, in the states, all the rules are different, and I certainly would agree. Well, depending, but generally, home office. The problem with a home office is that then you would allocate a portion to depreciation of the real property, and then if you later sell it, you would have to pay. There would be no exclusion in connection with that versus a portion of an exclusion on the gain on the sale of a personal residence. So the best advice, I guess, is just to work with your accountant, but just make sure you have a good accountant, because there's a lot of them out there that aren't good. And I'm
I
not saying I was good or bad or anything else, but I actually ended up, because I had some pretty big clients, I ended up getting information from other accountants, and sometimes there were just basic things that they didn't really know, and taxes are really complicated. So if you do have the business going, I definitely recommend getting one. Even if you prepared your own tax return, if you prepared it using the various tax return preparation software that's out there. There was a study done. This is many, many years ago, but there was a study done, and they used about 25 different. They used the same facts with 25 different software companies, and they got a different tax result for each one. So a lot of it is understanding the program you're using, and I know for my own purposes, I've had to override things in some of the software programs because I know that the answer I was getting was incorrect. So I do think it's important that you have an accountant. I'm my own accountant, which probably isn't a good idea, but
I'm sure
if I
you're
had a big business, I would probably get my own accountant as well.
I'm sure you're a very good CPA, and yeah, it's I think knock on wood, I think I lucked out and have someone that has done a great job for me over the years. So, but it takes a little. I think one thought would be to ask around town wherever you live, who's got a good reputation. It was really through word of mouth that I found my group that I work with, and they're just great. I mean,
Yeah.
just really good, and I feel really confident that it's being done right, because it is really complicated stuff. And although now I'll have to say that I'm an LLC, it doesn't seem like it's going to be near as complicated. But and you don't have to be incorporated in any way, shape, or form to do the LifeWave business. Doing it under your Social Security numbers, absolutely fine. So just keep that in mind. I don't want to have this video make people think they have to go out and incorporate at all. But even if you're not incorporated, you can take deductions, right, on your personal taxes for this business. So
Absolutely. You'd still, I mean, you have an LLC, which I'm assuming is a single member LLC, meaning you own it 100%. So you're basically filing all activity of the business on a Schedule C. So if the reason to form an LLC would be for liability purposes. So an LLC has liability protection, even though you own it 100%. And that's the reason for getting an LLC. I don't know that anybody has a lot of liability in connection with a product unless something happened and somebody just wants to go sue everybody. But that's the reason for getting that single member LLC, and then all of the activity is just filed on a Schedule C. So yeah.
pretty simple. Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna.
And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to
So
help.
Store
Whatever
is
I know.
on our team, and has all this knowledge. So thank you.